Good morning. Thank you so much. My name is Wally Pelote. I'll be your master of ceremonies today. We're going to start our program for the invocation. I'd like to ask the Reverend Dr. Peter Toe. Dr. Toe is from the Community Baptist Church of San Jose. He's also the president and founder of the Global Mission Partnership of San Jose. Dr. Toe?
Happy New Year. I first met the Honorable Fiona Ma 40 years ago at her parents' lovely home in Great Neck, New York. She was just a sweet little girl. Since then, through the years, my wife and I have been in touch with her mother, Sophia Du, my relative, and with other members of the Ma family as well. Thank you, Fiona, for the privilege of saying the invocation. Let us seek God's blessing at this time. Almighty and ever-loving God, our eternal Heavenly Father, as we gather for this jubilant and historic event, we come before your holy presence, acknowledging that you are the creator and preserver of all humankind, the fountainhead of all blessings. Today, as we celebrate Fiona Ma's accomplishments throughout her 10 years of dedicated public service, we thank you for blessing her with the gifts of knowledge, intelligence, business acumen, leadership, and people skills, as well as a deep passion for public service. We also thank you for empowering and enabling her to accomplish numerous significant tasks for the general welfare of people here in California and beyond. As Fiona seeks success and your blessings in her newly elected role, and as she begins her tenure on the State Board of Equalization, may you provide her and her team with daily inspiration, wisdom, discernment, and strength. And in times of adversity, may you grant them your peace, encouragement, courage, and the determination to keep calm and carry on their good work. This morning, we also thank you for Mayor Ed Lee and others who serve in public life, especially those who are taking part in this ceremony, for their dedication and selfless service. May you continue to grant them your richest blessings in this new year and in the years to come. May today's ceremony bring to us all, and in particular to Fiona and her family, many beautiful moments and cheerful memories. Hear, O God, our humble prayer of thanksgiving and petition. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Toe. We're now, at this point in our program, we're prepared to do the presentation of the colors as well as the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you please rise?
Left, face, preset.
We want to thank the Lowell High School JROTC and Drum Corps. And now we will ask Andrew St. James to come up with the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing, please. Yes. Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well done, and I apologize. Let's now, will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Thank you so very much. And Andrew, thank you. At this point in our program, we're going to go into some greetings, and I want to welcome each and every one of you here today for this momentous occasion for the swearing in of Fiona Ma to the Board of Equalization District 2, and to have some of our guests remind all of you of a rich history in the last 10 years of public service that she has delivered to the people in the state of California. Our first guest speaker, I'd like to inform you today that can't be with us, but he sends his regards, his love, and his warmth as someone that she got her start in public service in this city, in his office, several years ago. And I'd like to extend to her from John Burton to say that he is really sorry that he couldn't be here with you today, Fiona. But that won't stop us. We will continue to move forward. Our next speaker is a native San Franciscan who has over 30 years of public service experience in California. She just finished serving her second term as a member of the Board of Equalization, and this past November was elected state comptroller. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honorable Betty Yee.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pelote, Assembly Speaker Emeritus Perez, the Honorable Fiona Ma, Chief Justice Tani Cantil Sakui, State Treasurer John Chung, and of course the Honorable Mayor Ed Lee, and special guests. Good morning. It is my tremendous honor to be back home in San Francisco and to really pass the torch, if you will, of my service on the Board of Equalization to a very, very capable young woman in the Honorable Fiona Ma. And she is no stranger to the residents of this city, and the rest of the state of California is going to soon know what she is made of. And we are happy to share her throughout the 2nd Equalization District. And one of the things I just want to say about Fiona that I think all of us admire, but it bears repeating, is that she is a fierce advocate. She serves with tenacity and really doesn't sleep until she gets the job done. And I know that she will be a terrific advocate, not only for the taxpayers of California, but also for the state of California, because we all serve, and I know Fiona shares in these values. We serve because we want to make a difference. And her background with respect to being probably one of the leading advocates of this city for the small business community, particularly for those communities that are emerging in our society, underserved communities, really giving them a shot economically. And many of us know the history of our immigrant communities, but in so many ways, we share a common thread from community to community in terms of how we achieve self-sufficiency, and that is through starting small businesses. It is the lifeblood of this city's economy, it is the lifeblood of the state of California's economy, and I know we have a small business advocate in Fiona Ma on the Board of Equalization. So as part of passing the torch, I thought what I would do is just offer three, not words of advice, Fiona needs no advice, but to the extent that this is a new set of responsibilities, I just wanted to impart on her what has served me well over the last 10 years being your representative on the State Board of Equalization. And one is keep your nose down. It's very tempting to be in this office, and it is going to be an office that will affect a lot of segments of society. But the job at hand really is a serious one. And being an adjudicatory body and really understanding and applying the law consistently and fairly and correctly, that is the expectation of the five-member body. And as some of you are practitioners in the audience, others of you may have been appellants before the board, but I think the reputation of the institution and certainly the credibility of the work of its members really relies on the studious endeavors of the five members of the board to really look at the law and to apply it in that manner. Secondly, I just want to say I could not have really have the tremendous experience that I've had on the board without the professionals who make up the employees of the State Board of Equalization. We have tremendous talent, tremendous knowledge, and I would encourage you and even the constituents of this district to rely on the professionals. The auditors are not out to get you, as I think as many believe that tax auditors do, but really to help you figure out how you can be successful and continue to succeed and thrive in this economy. But certainly relying on the professionals in our legal staff, our executive staff, and certainly the audit and compliance staff who have years of experience and really have caught up with the 21st century in terms of how to apply the tools and resources available to make the relationship with our taxpaying community a robust and positive one. And lastly, I think all of us in public service, but this is probably more important in terms of a standard for us on the Tax Commission here in California, and that is doing our own part to save taxpayers money. And whether it's about how we staff our offices, how we continue to look at being good stewards of our tax dollars, this is really an important part of the members of the State Board of Equalization, is being good stewards, really modeling what that means for other parts of state government, and certainly working with our partners in the executive branch as well as in the legislature to accomplish that goal. So I am tremendously proud and honored to be passing the torch also to a certified public accountant, and I know for all of you who are CPAs out there, there's a lot of pride and just a lot of just really excitement about the fact that you could not have someone more experienced to undertake this role, and I could not be more proud to hand the torch on to my friend and really an accomplished legislator and someone who's dedicated her life to public service, the Honorable Fiona Ma. Congratulations.
Our next speaker was first appointed to the California Board of Equalization in 1997, and he served until he was elected the state comptroller in 2006. After serving 2 terms as comptroller, he was elected last November, last year, as state treasurer. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in welcoming to make a few remarks here today on behalf of Fiona Ma, the Honorable John Chung.
Good morning. Thank you, Willie. Thank you, Willie, for your years of dedicated public service. I am absolutely delighted to be with all of you as we celebrate this momentous occasion on Fiona's inaugural. I couldn't be more excited. I had been telling people I love my service on the Board of Equalization, but it was time for me to leave. I left, yesterday was my first day without service on the board after 19 years. With all due respect to Betty, I wish I had 19 years and 1 day so I could have been on the board with Fiona. I would have loved that moment. Now, let me talk about the special qualities and the import of the Board of Equalization so that you have a sense between the federal and state tax code, and I don't want to depress you, there are 10 million words. There are 10 million words that businesses, individuals, corporations, nonprofit organizations try to comply with. And it can be an overwhelming task. And it can be so distant and it can make people disconnected from the process. But I couldn't imagine and I couldn't think of somebody more capable and able to assume the responsibilities of the Board of Equalization than Fiona. Obviously, as a CPA, she's well-read. She understands and she brings a greater sense of the purpose and understanding behind the code. She'll bring a sense of what's important in regards to policy. And as Betty so appropriately stated, she's going to be a champion of the people on the Board of Equalization. In yesteryear, when I served on the Board of Equalization years ago, there was an effort to try to eliminate publications in other languages. Can you imagine trying to assist people, and I see the Speaker Emeritus shaking his head because he's been a true champion of that, reaching out to Latinos who come to this country, who open their shops, to Chinese Americans who have endured and overcome extraordinary struggles, and people, whether you're from Armenia or Africa or elsewhere. It's that entrepreneurial spirit, it's those people who lift to make California and America their dream. That's the challenge we face today. But we know that Fiona is a tenacious, eloquent, and passionate advocate who has the goodwill and the intentions of people's hearts. And so that we know for the 2nd District, you're going to have unbridled enthusiasm and tenacity on behalf of the taxpayer. Last night when I was sworn in, I talked about California's I can, but more importantly, I will spirit. There are a lot of well-intended elected officials who want to serve and they're capable, but sometimes they are a misfit because they don't have the talents and abilities to fit that particular position. There's no question that Fiona is not only qualified, but she is superbly qualified for the responsibilities of this position. And then let me conclude with this last point. Fiona is a special person. She is a special legislative leader. Now she's going to be a special constitutional officer. Fiona and I have been friends. We met prior to, but a dear friend I saw in our audience, Elmi Bermejo, made Fiona and I even closer during their service with Senator John Burton. And I recognized Fiona's talents. And so I had the good fortune of being nominated, accepted as a Riddell Fellow. The Riddell Fellow is a program by the Aspen Institute that recognizes 24 young leaders who they think can help govern their nation. And of all the people that I chose to nominate on this good earth, one of those people that I nominated because I have a deep trust and faith and belief in her promise is Fiona Ma. And as other people understood, Fiona was selected. So you have today somebody who's among the best and the brightest that the world has to offer to all of us. And that's why I'm inspired with Fiona's inaugural. Congratulations, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have someone who's going to give some greetings on behalf of himself, as well on behalf of Senator John Burton, the chair of the California Democratic Party. But this is the longest serving speaker of the California State Legislature, a two-term mayor of the city and county of San Francisco. Will you please welcome Willie L. Brown, Jr.
Fiona, I came out to just remain in the background and celebrate your ascendancy to this important position. And as I looked, I saw all these people first, then I saw Willie, then I saw John, I saw Ed. What the hell are you being inaugurated for? This looks more like an occasion for a governorship. No other way you get the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court here doing this for you. And then when I heard that John Burton wasn't going to be here, I thought, maybe I can get on the program. John Burton actually introduced me to Fiona Ma. And all these wonderful things that Betty said, that John said, and that others will in fact say about the unique, incredible achievement of the person called Fiona Ma, I must tell all of you, none of those things compare to the fact that she went through an interview and got a job with John Burton. And she survived the whole time with John Burton. He's a very tough taskmaster. There's nobody that has a better understanding of the democratic system, nobody that has a better appreciation of the responsibility of an elected official, and no one requires the commitment and integrity as John Burton has so done all of his life. He is most proud of his association with Fiona Ma and how she met every expectation that he could ever have on who should be a part of the public service delivery system. Fiona, Mr. Mayor, did exactly that. She survived and went through the chairs and learned all the rules and regulations of government in the Burton world. And then she graduated to her own world here at City Hall as a member of the Board of Supervisors, and then moved on from there to the state legislature. And it didn't surprise John Burton, nor did it surprise me, when Speaker Perez made her his number 2. There was just no question that the talent was all there. And now that Betty has moved up and John has moved up, it's only natural that Fiona Ma steps in. And there's absolutely no loss of talent in any of those respective positions because Fiona Ma has it all. I congratulate her, and I'm very pleased that Burton didn't make it.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker has worked as a public servant in San Francisco for over 25 years. In January of 2012, he was sworn in as the first Asian American mayor in San Francisco's history. Please welcome the Honorable Ed Lee.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure to join all of the speakers, Betty and John and Willie up here and what they've said. And let me say this to take advantage of legislative priorities. I associate myself with all the comments made already for Fiona Ma. But I also want to add my 2 cents. First of all, welcome everybody here to the People's Palace. You know, Fiona knows these walls very well. But more importantly, she knows the people, the institutions, and the officers that have been a part of this great city. And let me say thank you to the former supervisors and the current supervisors who are here, because you know that the work that you do every single day here with me, Fiona has done before, and she's taking it to new heights. But you know, in addition to her fiscal expertise, which I know Betty and John know that very clearly, I want to say to you, Fiona, if I can contribute to that, I do my own taxes. So that's how I know fiscal responsibility. So on behalf of our city, I also want to add my congratulations to you, but also beyond what is expected of you. If you look at the map, you'll realize that the second district of the Board of Equalization, as Betty knows very well, is almost the entire west coastline for the state of California. From Del Norte County to Santa Barbara, the most valuable of all of our state. And this is what is impressed upon me for this particular election and nomination, is that she takes that responsibility of the most incredible revenue generating counties in all of the state of California and becomes responsible to all of us for their performance. That is a huge responsibility, an honor that is given to someone who has already demonstrated and exhibited that kind of public trust and public responsibility inherent in being the pro tem of the Assembly, an excellent public accountant, a former supervisor, State Assembly, who had already, in her last couple of years in the State Assembly, been collaborating with these agencies with good legislation. The county assessors throughout the state of California know her already. The Board of Equalization had known her already because she was such a collaborative legislator. I also know Fiona because of work outside of the offices, because this is what I think counts even more in the building of character. She's been a stalwart advocate to end hepatitis B in our communities, and she's been out there on a weekly basis. If not, even talking personally about what she's gone through to make sure that others understand that we should be joining together to end this. And one of her other passions that she spent a lifetime on, she's been such a role model for women. And let me tell you, you'll never find a stronger advocate to end human trafficking than Fiona Ma. So as the speakers have said, she brings her own wealth of experience to this very dedicated constitutional position, as John said. But we know her as the Fiona Ma of San Francisco, who's been out there on human issues, social issues, not only a great legislator, but a person who has represented labor and business, small businesses, and one of the strongest advocates for neighborhoods. It is my personal honor to congratulate Fiona on this occasion and to join our entire cast here on stage to thank her for her service and her integrity and her willingness and commitment to serve all the people of the state of California. Congratulations, Fiona.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're at the point in our program now where we will hear from our final speaker. as our guest today to provide some greetings to the Honorable Fiona Ma. Ladies and gentlemen, he was the first open gay Speaker of the California State Assembly. In 2010, he appointed Fiona as the Assembly Speaker pro tempore, and he is currently serving as an appointee of the governor to the University of California Board of Regents. And I can be clear that I need him there. I represent 25,000 members, and we plan to make the university accountable to the people in the state of California. I just had to ad-lib a little bit there. I want you to join me in welcoming Speaker Emeritus John A. Perez.
Thank you. Thank you. It is great to be here with all of you as we celebrate the inauguration of Fiona Ma to the Board of Equalizations. It is fitting that we gather here in this magnificent building in whose chambers so many legendary figures have served, and where Fiona Ma began her service as an elected official here in the great city and county of San Francisco. Her story is a quintessential California story, a story of promise and progress, a child of immigrants who came across the Pacific in search of opportunities for themselves and their children. In celebrating Fiona's swearing in today, we're honoring not just Fiona, and we've all heard such amazing stories about what Fiona has brought to public life, but we're also honoring the courage of her parents and the promise of opportunity that has made California such an iconic place in the world. Today, our swearing in speaks not only to our heritage as a state, but to our commitment of striving for progress and opportunity for the future. Throughout her time as supervisor of the great city and county of San Francisco, and certainly her time in the Assembly, Fiona has stood and fought for people who needed somebody to fight for them, for small business owners who've navigated the worst economic crisis in generations, for children and parents who deserve to grow up in safe neighborhoods and learn in quality schools, for women in California who've seen firsthand her unflinching commitment to equality of opportunity for all. I was honored to serve with Fiona during her second and third terms in the Assembly, and I was honored to stand with her in so many of these fights, where she took on some of the most entrenched and influential interest Sacramento had ever seen, and time after time she won. She's the kind of public servant who, quite frankly, isn't celebrated enough. A public servant for whom service to the people is the highest calling. A public servant who never shrinks from a fight, no matter how difficult the struggle. A public servant who remembers that our first duty is to make life better for those whom we're privileged to serve. And we're talking about the 2nd District here, but Fiona's leadership on the Board of Equalization will be of statewide impact, just as her service in the legislature was. Her service in the Assembly is paramount example of what every elected official should aspire to be: compassionate, forward-thinking, and decisive. That's why I was proud to ask her to serve as the Speaker pro tem. When the people's business was being debated, it was essential that we have somebody with a firm hand guide our deliberations, someone who is willing to be respectful of divergent voices, someone who will enforce the rules without respect to party, someone who will ensure that our deliberations do us credit and do credit to the great swath of California. And that's what we're going to see her bring to the deliberations at the Board of Equalizations as well. Fiona has all of these qualities. And during her service as Speaker pro tem, she earned the respect and admiration of every member of the Assembly. And I was honored that she was one of the first members of the legislature who stood with me as I took on the quest to be Speaker, and I was honored to have her play such a crucial role in leading the state of California out of the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. And I'm honored to be with all of you today as we watch Fiona embark on this next stage of her life in public service. She has been a wonderful friend to us all, a fighter for justice and fairness, and a talented and effective leader with an unquestionable ability to get results. California's taxpayers can count on her fairness, her impartiality, her determination to do right by them as a member of the Board of Equalizations. She will be a powerful voice for fairness and efficiency in government, just as she always has been. So without any further ado, please help me lead us to the next stage by welcoming to administer the oath of office the Chief Justice of the State of California, Tani Kantil Sakaue, who will administer the oath of office to our friend Fiona Ma. Madam Chief Justice.
As we invite Fiona's family, husband, and parents, I'd like to take a personal privilege, and that is to say a few words about Fiona Ma. I first came to know Fiona 4 years ago when I was the new Chief Justice of California. I was introduced to her by two longtime San Francisco denizens. That is my good friend Cindy Lee, an attorney from law school, and also Judge Sam Feng here on the Superior Court. So when you're new and you come to San Francisco, you meet all the new and right people. Fiona Ma was one of the very first who gave me very wise advice. And as I came to know Fiona, I agree with all the comments made thus far, and I add two more. And that is that she is fearless and she is dynamic. And so for many people, and frankly there are quite a few who do not know what the Board of Equalization does. And let me tell you, because it needs 10 million words, it is not easy. We are fortunate to have someone with Fiona's experience, her ability to tackle and take down a learning curve, and help and advocate for people on behalf of taxes and representation. On the Supreme Court, we have occasion to deal with Board of Equalization cases. Taxes and fees and formulas and assessment strike fear in every human being who reads that on a piece of paper. So true that we should have Fiona Ma, who has a proven record in local government and state government, to lead and to be one of the advocates for taxes and small business in California. It is indeed a privilege to be here to administer your oath of office. You hold the Bible. Left hand on the Bible, right hand up. Please repeat after me. I state your name.
Fiona Ma.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Many congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can you take the Bible, honey?
First of all, I want to thank everyone here for being here on this amazing day. You have seen me at every step of the way, and I can tell you how much it means to me that you are here on the inaugural celebration for my first day at the State Board of Equalization. I want to recognize a couple of folks before I begin my remarks. To Senator Burton, I'm sorry he is not able to be here, but I thank him for giving me my first chance at public service. I want to thank the Honorable Mayor Willie L. Brown for stepping in. I served on the Board of Supervisors during his last year as mayor here, and I have to tell you that I was really nervous and scared to work under him. But he taught me so much about people and bringing people in and working with people and respecting people, and I thank the mayor. I always say that we needed him for one more term. He was on a roll. We would have kept the 49ers here had he had 4 more years to get that stadium built. To my good friends, John Chung and Betty Yee, for keeping our state fiscally sound and also blazing a trail on the State Board of Equalization for me. Speaker John Perez, I was so honored to serve on your leadership team at a time when the Assembly was the driving force behind California's economic recovery, and we did not see a budget surplus during his entire leadership. And to Mayor Lee, who is not only the first Asian mayor here in San Francisco, but a decisive and fair leader who represents all of us in every single community. Willie Pelote, you have been one of my guiding lights in Sacramento during my 6 years, and I always used to say when Willie Pelote called me personally, it was gonna be a tough one. And I'm deeply honored to have Chief Justice Tani Kantil Sakaui swear me in today. As Chief Justice, you exemplify the values of fairness and justice, and I am committed to the standards that you, as well as the mayor and all of the public servants here behind me, are known for throughout the state of California. And I also want to take a moment to recognize the JROTC Corps from Lowell High School and Doug Bullard. As many of you know, I have been a strong supporter of JROTC, and I believe that it is one of the best programs that the San Francisco Unified School Board has to offer. It teaches kids leadership, commitment to the community, discipline, and really gives them a great start as they leave high school. I'm pleased that Reverend Toe gave the invocation. Pastor Toe is my uncle from my mother's side. And as some of you know, my grandfather was also a Presbyterian minister. And I'm happy that you all heard Andrew St. James. Where is Andrew? Andrew is a local rising star and a name to remember, and I hope that you will follow him. He is very active on Facebook, so you can always find where he is going to be playing next. And of course, I wouldn't be here today without the support and love of my husband, Jason Hodge. For the past 2.5 years, he has been my pro bono campaign consultant and cheerleader and helped me get to the finish line. And lastly, I would like to introduce the 2 most important people who made today possible, my mother and my father. Dr. William Ma and Sophia Ma. They were born on opposite sides of the ocean in China, immigrated to Hong Kong, and finally met in Canada. My father was a newly minted engineer from the University of Saskatchewan, and my mother was the sweet minister's daughter who played the organ, taught Sunday school, and led the youth group. They got married in New York and had my brother Michael, 2 years younger, and my sister Samantha, who is 16 years younger. As the oldest child, my father brought me up almost like a first son, where I would cut the lawn, help him cut the lawn during the summers, sweep and bag the leaves during the fall, shovel out the driveway during the long winters, and change the storm windows in the spring. He taught me to drive a stick shift at the age of 14 and taught me how to change the oil and change the tires on the car. They also encouraged us to play sports and to try everything, and they were always supportive. Sometimes I was good at certain things and sometimes not so good. But they were always there and attended almost all of our guidepost events, concerts, sporting competitions, and my father once also managed my band, the Banana Splits, where I was a drummer. He also had to drive us around at the time because we didn't have our driver's licenses. But most importantly, regardless of what we did, we had to get good grades. Since I was good at math, they encouraged me to be an accountant. Thus, my bachelor's in accounting and my first professional job with one of the big 8 accounting firms. After 5 years there, I saw the glass ceiling, so I decided to leave and start my own practice. That was 1994, 20 years ago. That was a memorable year for me, not only because I started my own accounting practice, but because I met Harold Yee, Frank Fung, Jonathan Leong, and Darlene Marr, who appointed me and told me how easy it would be to be the president of the Asian Business Association. It won't take a lot of time. We'll support you. Well, as many of you know who get involved in nonprofit organizations, it becomes your full-time passion and commitment. But they taught me about empowerment and the importance of having a seat at the table. And with their support and encouragement, I embraced the role as an advocate for minority and women-owned businesses to ensure equal opportunity and more access to public contracting. We went to President Bill Clinton's White House Conference on Small Business in 1995 to make our voices heard. I knew there that there were hundreds and thousands of people across the United States, people with the same experiences I had, people with the same determination to succeed and build a business with their own 2 hands. They didn't want special treatment. They just wanted a fair shake. And knowing that I was there to speak for them, seeing firsthand that I made a difference for them and for so many others, I began to think about a life and possibilities and potential for public service. That potential was realized when I came back to San Francisco, and then Supervisor Susan Leal and her trusty then aide, Bevan Dufty, appointed me to the Assessment Appeals Board. Shortly thereafter, Jim Wacob and Linda Post recommended that I take a job with Senator John Burton's office and advocated on my behalf. In Senator Burton's office, we heard from homeowners who were being treated unfairly, helping parents apply for financial aid for their kids to go to college, and getting people unemployment benefits they deserved. This was deeply rewarding and a life-changing experience for me. I knew then that a life in service of others was my calling, and so I was dedicated and I decided to run for office. That first supervisor's race in 2002 wasn't easy, but the people of the Sunset District put their faith in me, and I will always be grateful. It was such an amazing, rewarding experience to bring together such a diverse community. Asian Americans, the Irish community like the Dowling sisters, veterans, police and firefighters, community and church leaders, veterans, senior citizens, and the seniors from Lowell and Lincoln High. The Sunset District, like the rest of California, is a melting pot from every corner of the world. And the support of so many different people in that race shows why California is such a special and unique place in the world. We often hear that California is the state on the cutting edge, in fields as diverse as technology, the sciences, entertainment, and public service. California is a place where new ideas, new approaches, and new possibilities are given the opportunity to succeed. And each of us here today knows that San Francisco is to California what California is to the nation and the world, the place where progress is born. More than a decade ago, our efforts to provide paid sick leave for every worker in San Francisco started a statewide conversation that was realized this year when Governor Brown signed the law mandating sick leave for every worker in California. And other efforts, whether it's banning toxic toys, protecting grocery workers, improving job site safety for bricklayers, or strengthening prevailing wage laws. It all started here in San Francisco, succeeded here, and helped bring change to Sacramento and to California. When Claire Joyce Timpanko was murdered in front of her 2 young kids in the Richmond district, we stood united as a community with a powerful message. Domestic violence is never acceptable, and it's never a private matter. We have been equally forceful in the ongoing debate on immigration. As the child of immigrants, I know firsthand being a sanctuary city isn't about politics or demographics. It's about morality. It's about embracing the spirit and inclusion, an opportunity that has brought immigrants like my parents to California for nearly 2 centuries. And when it comes to blazing a trail for LGBT rights, the work we have done here sets the global standard. Domestic partnerships and same-sex marriages reached critical mass in San Francisco and has shown the entire country and the entire world what inclusion and acceptance really means. I am proud of our efforts. I am so grateful for all of you who were part of all of those fights here in San Francisco and in Sacramento. Now, the Dome in Sacramento is not quite the same as the Dome here in San Francisco. But with your support and with the experience I gained from the work we did together, I am so proud to say that we did make a difference in Sacramento. We stood up for working families. We protected children by banning toxic toys. We stood up and said that people with pre-existing conditions like hepatitis B and mental illness should never have their insurance denied or revoked. We fought for equity in education. We fought to keep high-speed rail moving, and no one will cheer louder than me when that first train makes its voyage. We fought hard to shine a light on domestic violence in all communities, lift up survivors by giving them support, and give hope to the women in jail who hopefully one day will see their freedom. And we fought hard for small businesses during the worst recession since the Great Depression. We worked hard to make sure that small businesses could survive the downturn and emerge stronger than before. Because of your support and encouragement, because of the lessons I learned in San Francisco, because of the city's spirit of overcoming the longest odds and fighting for what's right, I am proud to say that over the course of 3 terms in the Assembly, I got 60 bills signed by 2 different governors. I'm proud of my legislative record, but today is not about the past. It's about the future. And with your support and with each of you standing here by my side, I know we can build on the progress we made over these next 4 years. In many ways, serving on the State Board of Equalization means I am coming full circle. When I received my license as a CPA, I took on the professional and personal obligation to serve each client in good faith and to make sure that they were treated fairly and equitably by a tax code that, as you know, is very complex. And that is exactly the approach the people of California deserve from the Board of Equalization. When we talk about taxes, we aren't just talking about numbers on a ledger. We are talking about the dues we pay as citizens. And as a member of the Board of Equalization, I want to be absolutely clear how I will approach every question that comes before me, with an eye to fairness, accountability, and justice. The Board of Equalization reaches statewide, and its impact is felt by every Californian who works hard and pays taxes in the state. Last year, the board collected over 35% of the state's revenues. That's $52.5 billion that went to build schools, roads, hospitals, along with paying teachers' salaries, firemen and policemen who protect our communities. As a legislator, I fought to ensure that the revenues we collected were spent efficiently and fairly, and I absolutely believe that the collection on those revenues must be efficient and fair. We need to get back to basics. We need to remember that small business owners are Californians first and foremost, and they want to do the right thing and be good citizens. I am eager to be an auditor and an advocate so that taxes are fair, taxpayers are respected, and the taxpayers and the taxes that pay for government are spent wisely and efficiently. And that work begins today. First, we need to ensure that the tax code works for every Californian. In just a few months, thousands of working parents will sit down and do their taxes, and I want to make sure that they don't leave a single penny on the table. As a former legislator, I will advocate to create an earned income tax credit for California that will help address the unacceptable divide between the most fortunate and those least fortunate among us. We will be aggressive in our outreach efforts to make sure that folks understand that they can take part in this wonderful credit on their federal tax returns while working on expanding it to California. Second, we will work hard to honor the spirit of President Obama's executive order on immigration by ensuring that residents pay their dues as Americans, regardless of their status. I have asked the Board of Equalization to review our policies and develop a plan to help our immigrant communities understand the nuances that come with their changed status and give nonprofits and consulates the tools to help those who are seeking a better life here in the United States. Fairness, accountability, efficiency, and compassion. These are the principles that have guided me throughout my service, and they are the principles that will continue to guide my service on the Board of Equalization. Hillary Clinton memorably once said that it takes a village, and I can tell you firsthand how true that is. You all have been my village. Your support in my very first run for supervisor, through the difficult battles in Sacramento, and today as we embark on the next 4 years of building a better California, has meant the world to me. And as I take office as the only second CPA ever to serve on the Board of Equalization since 1879, I know that this village, this family will leave California in a better place than we are today. Thank you all for your support and friendship over the years, and I wish you all health, happiness, success, and peace of mind in 2015 and beyond. Thank you.